Blue screen. Hello, welcome to Derps Talk About Games. I'm your co-host, Mango.
And I am your co-host, Buddy.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about building custom artifacts for Pathfinder 2e. But before we do that, Buddy, why don't you tell the folks at home what it is we do on this podcast?
Listen, on this podcast, we like to talk about games. Last time we talked about the end. We did our little, post-mortem of Rats in the Walls, the Monday night game that we played in person up here in New Hampshire. We are starting the next arc, which is called Ripples in the Sand, next week. And by next week, I mean tomorrow. Literally, as we record this today, right now, we are starting Ripples in the Sand tomorrow. And because Ripples in the Sand is going to feature a couple of characters, two characters from previous campaigns are kind of coming back, and they will be coming back with artifacts in tow. Something that I'll be doing is building out new artifacts for characters so that everybody kind of at least starts with one. Basically, is kind of what I'm looking to sort of do here. Artifacts, for those of you guys who don't know, are very special custom items that I make for my games. It really is about, in my mind, kind of replacing the the magic item sort of budget and conversation and all of that stuff. I don't love giving out magic items that feel sort of like generic and that you would roll on a table for, right? I want to make very like bespoke, tailored sort of magic items that have big, interesting, cool effects that do a bunch of stuff. So today we're gonna spend some time making artifacts for 3 characters. Megan, we're gonna be making one for your character, Honest Harvey. We're going to be making one for Sarian, friend of the podcast, Sarian's character, Dr. Silas van Polk. And lastly, we will be making one for Rachel's character, Eka the Shell Scribe.
Hello, Rachel.
In the background.
Yeah, cameo.
Gotta go to the YouTube channel for some of that content, folks. Okay.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? Like, I feel like one, I'm here, and two, Harvey's probably the easiest to justify story-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about Eka, but like, Silas and Harvey are both like, around dig sites. You can be like, you found a thing in a tomb, right? Like, for like the in-story rationale as to why you have it. But yeah.
So I definitely think that we can start with Harvey, especially because Harvey is also the character that I have the least understanding of, sort of like build wise, and this is always kind of a place to sort of go. Whenever I'm starting with artifacts, I actually typically start outside of the context of game systems, and then I kind of justify game systems later on. So I guess this is like a little peek a little peek behind the curtain when it comes to the way that I make these. So for instance, with the artifacts that I made for Rats in the Walls, I started from the premise, they are each going to find one artifact from a different Skaven clan in the Rat Warren, which was the dungeon that you guys completed. And then kind of filtered it down from there, right? So sort of the function followed flavor in sort of that perspective. But I'm in a complicated position here because I typically get a little bit of time to interact with you guys like on a character level before I start building out artifacts, and I can kind of figure out like who you are and how you exist sort of within the world. Because Harvey has never appeared on screen. What would be your like one sentence summary of him as a character doing an interesting kind of unique thing mechanically?
So Harvey's whole deal mechanically is he has a bunch of weapons in his backpack, and he's very willing to swap them out for like the task at hand, right? And he's got a bunch of weird, like, I went and I like picked out like the weird, like, he has the Elven Branch Spear, which is like, an Elven racial weapon, but it's, he's a fighter, so he has proficiency with it regardless, right? And his main weapon is this, it's from the Jotun ancestry in Corp, or in not in Corp, but in PF2E. But it's essentially like a war shovel, which I thought was perfect for like a a post-mortem asset recovery specialist, grave robber.
Yeah.
Um, and so hit like the whole like the fighter class feature has like you get to specialize with a group of weapons, and so the group I targeted was clubs because that's what that battle shovel is part of. So he like his ranged weapon is a boomerang, and he's got like a pole arm, and he's got a weapon that like I basically picked a bunch of stuff to like cover the basis of what I could do with stuff, right? Like that branch spear has reach and also has finesse, because his free archetype is rogue, so he occasionally does sneak attack stuff, right? Like um and he's also got like high athletics, and like he took the thievery skill feat that lets him like do dirty tricks. So just kind of like the idea in my head is kind of like right tool for right scenario, right? And being very willing to kind of like no sacred, like I don't need to use my father's sword to land the killing blow. I will use the thing that I can, that makes the most sense for this situation, and not be precious about it.
Okay, so hearing that makes me think that it's probably incorrect to even touch weapons in general. Right? Like if that's the whole point of Harvey, putting an artifact in the weapon slot kind of tramples over some of what makes that kind of interesting and unique. Is that kind of where, your mind is at?
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like a thing that could be like that would be okay being like, a once in a while thing rather than like an every time thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you could hand him the dagger from that you gave Dick, and it would probably work just because like he could use that every once in a while. It wouldn't be like the thing, it wouldn't be a thing that you would identify with him, which is I think your goal for these artifacts, but it like it wouldn't be the end of the world. But yes, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, because there was a part of me that was thinking, okay, well, maybe like a modular weapon would be like an interesting sort of artifact to have. So, for instance, I'm thinking about like Bloodsport from James Gunn's Suicide Squad. You remember Idris Elba's character had those guns, but he could reconfigure them into a bunch of different, so he could turn it into a sniper rifle, or these two pistols, or this whatever, right? Um, uh, like that's cool and interesting, but even that I think would actually step on the part of it of Honest Harvey that is fun is reaching into the backpack and pulling out a weird idiosyncratic, did you know that my gnomish diamond pick, has this weird weapon trait that lets me do whatever in this situation. It's like that's what's cool, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to
right.
get on top of that.
And on top of that, if you gave it to me, I would have to like rejigger the gold I spent on those weapons, right? Because I spent them to, you know, I bought like 5 or 6 different weapons, and be like, oh, I guess I gotta sell them or something, right? Like,
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about Fighter, because Fighter is a class that I have not spent any time with in Pathfinder 2e. I do understand that they are the best, they have the best proficiency when it comes to attacks, right? And that kind of stuff. Because typically at this sort of point, then I'm going to start looking at what are some of the things that I could key into mechanically that are, in support of the character's theme and ideas. So for instance, for Druid Bull, I made the rat ogre wild shape, right? And it's because, oh, I understand druids do wild shape. Here is this thing. He can Hulk out and become a rat ogre with his wild shape, and a rat ogre is a very powerful wild shape that has, these sorts of associated rules, right? So it's like, what are the kinds of class features that we can key into in Pathfinder 2e Fighter that would make for an interesting artifact, do you think?
so the path I have gone down is a lot of kind of like trick stuff. Like things like what did I take? I took for level 6, so I took okay, yeah, I took slam down, which is a way to do a trip for free. Like you said, I've got lightning spot, which lets me switch my weapons real fast. I've got sneak attack via the rogue thing. So like basically everything I've built is around this kind of like, weapon swapping stuff. Um, he draws fast. Like I said, the one thing that's distinctive is that fighters get to choose a weapon group they're particularly good with, and I chose clubs for that.
Yeah, so is this your fighter weapon mastery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the mastery group is club, and then at level 6 I took advanced weapon training so that every advanced club is martial, so I don't have to, because advanced weapons proceed at a track slower for fighters, so like they're still better with them, but like your advanced weapons are at like expert when your martial weapons are at master, right? And so
Okay. Yeah. And so this is about like critical stuff. I'm looking
Yep.
at these critical specialization effects, which I guess are a type of, it's I guess a weapon trait.
Yeah, so every weapon group has a specific weapon crit effect, and various classes get access to them in various different ways. A lot of the ancestries can get access to them through like a feat chain. For like like if you are a dwarf, you can get access to like the dwarven critical weapon specialization. Basically, on a crit, you get a special effect. For clubs, it's like a 10-foot knockback. And for like for swords, it's like off guard. Like this was one of the things that I was actually spinning around in my head is like, do I want to do swords because off guard's good for rogues? If I like, no, this is like a concession to RP, right? Like the club, like this battle shovel is just too good for a grave robber, so I have to make that my main.
Yeah,
weapon.
and like wanging someone in the head with it is like is good flavor. I do totally get that. I deeply sort of like feel that in a certain sense. So this is kind of a thing, like a thought process, right? Where okay, I found an interesting place where stuff is happening, right? In terms of a you have selected a weapon set, and that weapon set have this extra mechanical bonus, and then we can enhance that mechanical bonus in a very variety of different ways, right? But now I'm sort of thinking about like, well, how could I like make all of that an item? And I don't have a great answer to sort of that. Like, how do you make an item that makes all of your maces attack better? It's like, oh,
Yeah, and in a way that isn't just kind of like this is too good, right? Like something I was thinking about is like maybe some optional way to like bring some of like because when I use a thing that isn't in the club group, I'm a step behind. So maybe something that kind of like leans into the weapon swapping thing, such that I'm not leaving all the power behind. And like this is like a very like if I were just doing this for numbers, right? Like you're like, oh, and when you're using one of your other weapons, you get a +1. That way, it's you're only one behind your club bonus.
Oh my god, wait. So hold on. You have a backpack full of weapons, right?
Yes.
And how are those weapons stored in the backpack? Is it like a bag of holding or something? Like how would you store a big giant elvish branch spear in the backpack?
It's not necessarily in. So they are. This is important for Pathfinder mechanics. They are strapped to my body. They're not. If they're in the backpack, it takes 2 actions to get. If they're like accessible on the body, right? Like I'm imagining the spear like strapped to the side of the backpack.
Okay.
Right. But yes, that would be a way to do it, right? Like because like
because this is definitely sort of my thinking of like, well, what if Harvey has a magic backpack, like this artifact backpack that you can put infinite stuff in there, sort of like a bag of holding, but not quite, right? And then maybe there's something about reaching into the bag. I've done this in the past where a sort of randomization effect, which I think is very fun. So basically, in my game, the Scarecrow King, we have a character L who is playing a bard that uses tarot card. Technically, it's like bardic inspiration has like a random effect. You roll a d12. It's like a bard of the spirits or something. College of Spirits, I think is what it's called. But we've sort of reskinned it to be tarot cards, and she's reading your fortune, right? And that's kind of the way that it goes. And I created an artifact for L that I like quite a lot that basically says when you bardic inspiration somebody, so you roll your d12, you target somebody, you roll your, or technically you roll your d12 first, you understand what it is, then you target somebody. You can then use a reaction to chain that forward, right? And it doesn't take an extra bardic inspiration to do that if you roll the die after you choose the target. So the way that this works mechanically, that's a little confusing to sort of say out loud, but the way that this works mechanically is L will bardic inspiration a person, and then she can then go, hey, choose another target, right? And that person will then go, oh, okay, I'm going to choose this other person. So let's say L chooses Rachel and Rachel chooses Warren, right? Well, if Rachel chooses Warren before the roll goes out, it is really sort of like a fate thing where you are then rolling the d12, and this has happened where sometimes the bardic inspiration deals damage and you're attacking you're attacking your target, but also sometimes it heals them, right? And you're leaving it up to sort of like the fates or whatever. And I really love this as a sort of window to drive power, because basically what I'm saying is you get double bardic inspiration, right? Every bardic inspiration you spend, you get a second bardic inspiration effect for free, right? But you give up a little bit of that sort of control in order to sort of get that bonus. So my instinct here is, let's call it a knapsack that has some sort of like infinite sort of storing mechanism, and with a special action you can reach into the knapsack, and maybe you would take sort of, maybe the knapsack is like almost sentient or something, right? And you take its recommendation on what weapon it wants to give you, and when you pull that weapon out, you get to wield it at your maximum proficiency. So like, your all of your other stuff would come out at master proficiency, but you don't get to choose. Like, you just have to sort of trust.
So I could say the back. No, I need this. I need the Elven Branch Spear, and at that point, I'm running it at expert as opposed to master.
Right. But if you just reach into the backpack and just okay, give me what you think is best, and it gives you whatever, then you get to wield it at master proficiency, which hypothetically would actually allow you to go back in time a little bit and kind of reconfigure your arsenal.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have to pick so many clubs. Yeah. No, I like that a lot, right? Because I was like, I did feel like I was like, yeah, he's got a boomerang because that's a ranged weapon in the club group, but like I can like pick something that's a little.
It's also the kind of thing where like the part of it that's interesting is, would I want it so that I choose it? Like, I have a list of your weapons, or would we just like post a table somewhere of like 8 or 10, and then you just roll a d8 or d10 or something like that, and that's the thing that you pull out and get the benefits for?
I think it having, like, it being sentient, I think is exciting, right? Like it having like a voice in my head is exciting. And I think at that point it needs to like
come from me.
Yeah, because there's a part of this where like, if it's random, then it's like, it's got a slightly different flavor to it, right? But also like, I also don't, the conflict here is like, I'm going to be like, whoa, if you give me the wrong weapon, am I going to be like mad about it, right? Like, But I like the idea as like that's
It also theoretically is quite powerful and quite complicated, because I mean, hypothetically, in my mind, what I'm basically saying is, when you trust the knapsack, you get to use whatever it gives you as if it was part of your selected weapon specialization. So you would actually have to have a good understanding of like all of the critical effects of all of these different all of these different weapons.
Yeah.
So maybe that's actually interesting and exciting. I don't know.
I think it is. So I think the way to do it. Okay, maybe I've got a couple of I've got a couple of thoughts. So, a thing that it should be is so right now a standard backpack reduces your carry weight by 2. I think it should give me a little bit of bag of holding stuff, but with the explicit we can figure out the ticky tack details. Maybe if we don't want to do it right now, like I have to put at least X number of weapons in the bag, right? That because this is like a deck thinning problem, right? Like you want me to be pulling from like a large variety of weapons.
Oh yeah. You have to have at least X number in order for all of this to function. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. I also think that there's probably a clause somewhere that like, and maybe this is part of the lore, right? Like this is good lore of like, it can't just be a true bag of holding, because in a true bag of holding you can reach in, pull out whatever you need at any time. And I don't typically like bags of holding. I think bags of holding, whatever, they reduce the fun of like having a real sort of thing. And I kind of like the idea that, like, if you put something in the knapsack, there's just no guarantee you're going to get it out again. Do you know what I mean? Because it chooses what it wants to give you, right? So if you say, "Ooh, I'm going to take these things and put them in, put them in the bag," well, you're kind of rolling the dice on whether or not the bag is ever going to give them back to you, which, like, has implications for Harvey's sort of grave robbery, right? Like, does Harvey have a bunch of, you know, it's like these people who have, like, locked incredible amounts of Bitcoin behind, like, phones that they forgot the password to, or like
Right.
an iron key. It's like they forgot the password, just like that kind of thing. Like, can you ever get the blood diamonds out of the knapsack because you put them in there just to save space, and then it never wants to give you the blood diamonds ever again?
Yeah. So I think for like just sanity's sake, the way this would be is like, it's a backpack. The main compartment works like this. There's a compartment that I can put like normal stuff in that I don't have to worry about, like, fishing out my,
Yeah, sure.
And I think I like this, right? Like, he always keeps his battle spade like on his back, right? Like, he doesn't put that in the backpack because he wants to make sure he has that. But like, if I try and choose a weapon, I have to roll like a flat check, and if I hit like a, if I don't beat like a 4 or a 5, I can't find it, right? Like, something comes into my hand and I don't get the benefit because I failed the check, but like, it's not the thing, it's not the thing that I asked for, which would be, I think that works. I also think that, like, a potential upgrade is like, you could specify one trait on the weapon, right? And like, he'll hand you, the backpack will hand you something. Like, I think this all works if you kind of like space it out like that, right? Like, yeah. So I think this works, right? Like, it's got I get the bonus, which includes the critical specialization if I trust the bag. I think it probably has to be at least pseudo random, right? Like, I think this is a thing where you roll it behind the screen, and maybe sometimes that's a fake roll for effect, right? Like,
Yeah, like, I feel like the bag giving you a thing that is, like, narratively interesting or important is probably, like, a part of the I don't know. It's probably a part of the magic. Rachel in the chat said order a stack of proxy magic cards of all of Manga's weapons, and he has to draw a card, which I also think is very funny.
I might actually have the weapon cards somewhere. I'll see if I can actually find the weapon cards. Like, they have like equipment cards that I.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
from Pathfinder itself. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the other thing?
How many weapons does Harvey have, like, right now?
Right
Just
now
based on
he
the gold you
has
spent?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a necklace of knives, which is and maybe I would trade that out because to something else, just because, like, I don't need that anymore, right? And there are like a variety of weird things, and one of the limiting factors there was that I was running out of bulk that I could carry. I just
Yeah, this would solve that whole problem because of the bag of holding properties, right?
Yeah. What was I was gonna say something. Oh, the only thing that's a little, I guess I did buy a couple of property runes. Like, I bought Ghost Touch on my nunchucks because I was like, if we get a ghost, I gotta hit the ghost, right? So, and I've got like crushing on the mall's fine, right?
Nunchucks. Yeah.
Because nunchucks is a club, right? Like,
Yeah.
But I think that's perfect for, like, I can ask for the Ghost Touch nunchucks if I need them, and then if I fail, well, I'm shit out of luck. But
yeah, I love the idea of asking. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like the idea that Harvey has convinced the bag to guarantee to always give him a weapon, and when he needed it, to keep feeding the bag, but it's grumpy about giving any of his treasures up. Oh yeah, like the bag, like the bag wants to hold on to the treasures that you store in there.
And this is why I have to keep it filled to a certain level, because the bag, like, wants to eat the treasures, right? Like, it's like it will only, if I don't give it enough stuff, it's like just not going to cooperate, right? Like, it's like, I need more swords, right? Like type of deal.
Yeah, that is pretty perfect. Okay, I really love this idea. Yeah, magic crystals. um, is there anything else that you wanted to? I don't know. Is there anything else that's kind of included? The critical specialization stuff, all that stuff is just baked into the weapons themselves, right? Like there's
Yes.
something that has to be in there. So I think it's a pretty neat solve, just like on a mechanics level, to say that you get to treat it as though you have the weapon mastery in the group, right?
Yeah, and like I get to keep my if I need to, I can always fall back on the battle shovel, right? But like otherwise, yeah, perfect, awesome. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Let's talk about our next character. So our next character, we'll go with Eka because I don't know. Rachel's sitting in the chat. So Eka is a Tortollan shell scribe. A Tortollan historian who is engaging in a study of the history of the Empire and Saran. She is a wizard of the reclamation, sort of whatever the subclass is called, school or something like that, and then has a number of, we were just doing this over dinner, which is why I know this stuff off the top of my head. Yes, the School of Reclamation, which is a school that is all about, like, bringing back magics that have been lost to time, buried by the ages, all of that, all of that kind of stuff. Eka's kind of interesting as an academic, right? Because it's tough to scope out. It's kind of tough to scope out good, cool artifacts for characters that are kind of like flavored in this way. The ones that, and crucially, Eka is the sister of Jabuji, who is a character from 7th Expedition. Now, the thing I was thinking about for this is I already have Jabuji's artifacts from 7th Expedition scoped out. So I was thinking to myself, what would it look like if I sort of used that as sort of a place of inspiration? Jabuji has 3.
Is Jabuji
first
also a
one,
wizard?
Jabuji is also a Tortollan wizard, but crucially, Jabuji is in 5e rather than Pathfinder.
Right.
So a little bit different.
And just so I get the full mechanical picture, what is Eka's free archetype, and what is Tortollan being built on? Because Tortollan
Tortollan is being built on lizard folk, which has a pretty close to.
It has like an armor. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Yeah.
But we haven't talked about free archetype, so I don't know, man. Rachel in the chat, you want to tell us what archetype you're thinking for Eka? Go nuts. Yeah, no idea. Great. Okay, awesome answer. All right. Jabuji has 3 artifacts. To lay these out, because they all came from like very specific stuff that was happening inside of 7th Expedition. The first one is the Icon of Blood. There's a number of these. One of the big kind of features of 7th Expedition is the history around this character known as the Blood King. The tomb of the Blood King is in the Eastern Forest, where they like landed, and was like a major focus of a bunch of stuff that was kind of happening. The Icon of Blood is like a medallion that the Blood King sort of had, and it said a number of times per day equal to your proficiency modifier, you may drain the magic in a living creature's blood to fuel your magic with a blood siphon. You may take a melee touch attack, dealing 1d6 necrotic damage to your target if you hit. If you miss, you suffer 1d6 necrotic damage. Either way, you restore a 1st level spell slot. So the idea with the Icon of Blood is that this is a way that, especially in like a dungeon or something like that, Jabuji can either make this touch attack to try and, refill on a spell slot, or Jabuji can, take the damage themselves in order to restore the spell slot. But the main benefit there is, here is a way that you can regain spell slots. The second one, which is kind of no joke, the most powerful artifact I think I've ever designed, is called Croak's Crest. Lord Croak is an incredibly powerful mummified slan who the players kill. there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with Lord Croak. The mechanics here were you gain the ability to spontaneously cast magic missile, and as a bonus action, you can consume the magic of a prepared spell slot to instead cast magic missile as if you prepared it with that same slot. The idea here was I wanted to open it up so that Djibouti in two ways. Number one, if Djibouti wants to machine gun damage, Djibouti can by just using one action to cast a spell and the bonus action to cast a spell, because this actually ignores the one magic thing per turn, which is pretty insane. And Djibouti has used it for that sort of reason. But I also really wanted to create a way that Djibouti could feel good about taking weird spells and then transmute them into a useful spell. It is always going to be good to be able to cast a magic missile, so you can take whatever fog cloud or something like that, like any of these kind of weird, more niche spells with sort of this guarantee that you can transmute it into magic missile at the drop of the hat if you need it. But that ability to just like machine gun spell damage is the thing that's so insane about Croak's Crest. And then the third one of these, which is the one that everybody likes the most, because again, this is going to be this one is is sort of like a character, basically. This is Cho, the ancient stylus. So Cho is an artifact. It's like a stylus, because the idea is that the writing, there's all this detail about like the civilization and how they do writing. They do writing with stylus on wax slabs and stuff like that. Anyway, Cho is like is a sapient, creature, sort of. It's or like it's like a magic item that has like a will and sort of a soul for it. And the idea is, and the mechanics are, once per day when you fail a religion, nature, history, or arcana, so just a knowledge check, you can ask for Cho's advice, and as long as you provide Cho with like a means to write, Cho will grant you the ability to re-roll with advantage, right? So if you flub like some knowledge check, you can sort of ask Cho, and Cho will sit down and go and write out write out sort of the answer for you. Everybody loves Cho the most because Cho has a personality, and I think artifacts with personality are kind of that much more sort of attractive. But anyway, this is sort of the baseline that I was thinking about from. It's like, okay, Djibouti has these artifacts in the same way that, like, you might think of certain I don't know, certain like magic cards or certain like items in WoW as sort of being spiritual throwbacks to those sorts of things. That's kind of what I was thinking. What of these is hitting your brain the best?
How is Rachel planning on playing Eka? Like, is the plan for it to be like a combat utility mage, a blaster, a
doubtful of a blaster,
okay.
I guess. My expectation, I never really think of all of Rachel's characters. I think are very built on sort of like RP and understanding kind of like the mysteries of the universe more than doing crazy sorts of like mechanical feats of strength or damage or something, like kind of along those sorts of lines. So yeah.
Imagine me playing a useful character and someone who isn't just doing dumb shit. So there's two ways to approach it then, right? Like, something that is like that crest is great for, like, oh, I want to take all of these kind of, esoteric spells, but I want to be able to, like, in a moment be able to do something about it. Although I will say that, like, the cantrips kind of handle a lot of that, right? Like,
yeah.
And then the other way to do this is the obviously for a mysteries focused character, that quill thing sounds about like in the right kind of
yeah. Yeah, there's another thing, which is we were talking about an ability called, I think it's called spell blending, which is like a thing.
Oh, is that like the thesis?
Maybe. spell blending having this ability to sort of trade out lower spell slots for a higher spell slot, so you can like pitch 2 level 1 spells to get a level 3 level 4 spell, like that kind of thing. Something that I was thinking about is this. I think this is really interesting as like design space, right? Like you could imagine a world where so this is what it says, right? You theorize that spell slots are shorthand for an underlying energy that powers all spellcasting, and you found a way to tinker with the hierarchy of spell slots, combining them to fuel more powerful spells. During your daily preparations, you can trade 2 spell slots of the same rank for a bonus spell slots of up to 2 spell ranks higher than the traded spell slots. You can exchange as many spell slots as you have able, and bonus spell slots must be of a spell rank you can normally cast. So basically, really, it is you can pitch 2 level 1s to get a level 3. You can pitch 2 level 2s to get a level 4, right? And I was sort of thinking, I was like, what if there was like an artifact that keyed into this but allowed you to sort of truly blend spells together, right? So imagine you pitch, oh god, I don't know like level 1 spells, but like imagine you pitch 2 level 1 spells into a level 3 spell. The level 3 spell is now Fireball, but the artifact grants you the ability to lace your Fireball with the magic of one of these level 1 spells. So maybe you, if a level 1 spell is Obscuring Mist, right? What happens is you use the artifact, you spell blend, you get Fireball, and in the aftermath of the Fireball, you have a smoke screen that populates, right? So you have truly actually combined the 2 pieces of these spells. This sounds amazing to me. This sounds so fucking cool. But it's so impossible. You can't adjudicate it on like what the thing will do, because it's all bespoke combinations, and the spell list is so gigantic that it will never sort of make sense. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you feel like this is like a useful road to go down?
I think
Or
I think it is. I think there's interesting stuff here. I think so. I think the way to do this is limit it to like 1 a day, or like make it cost a focus point or something, right? Let you do the spell, like, so spell blending is supposed to be during your preparations, right?
Right.
Letting you, like, I think it would be very powerful to just say, like, on the fly, you could just like pick a level 3 spell, right? Like, and sacrifice, like, that's already super powerful. But
yeah, in my mind, I think it would have to happen at the beginning of the day. In my head, it would be when you do your daily preparations and you use the spell blending feature. You would maybe, because you can do it multiple times, right? You would choose one iteration of that, and you can combine one of the lower ranked spells into the higher ranked spell. But maybe what we would say is that like the effect of it is just like a thing that we would kind of negotiate in sort of the moment, because like I don't think that like I don't think there's any way to like handle that algorithmically. Essentially, you have to sort of make a bespoke answer on the fly.
I mean, you could just like, Rachel is not Nick, our friend Nick, right? Like, we don't have to worry about like, we don't have to worry about, Rachel going and finding, the weird combination that will break the system, right? Like,
That's true.
Whereas, you might have to worry about, like, say, me doing something like that, right? Like,
honestly, there's a part of me that even wants to say, like, once you have blended 2 spells together, you can't blend the same spells together.
I think that's,
you know what I mean?
I think that's,
is that too restrictive?
I think it is.
I sort of love the idea that every time you use this, you're using it with a different set of spells.
I say you have, like, put a cooldown on it, right? You can't blend like for like a week or something, right? Like, and like come up with some flavor. But I think the you sacrifice 2 level 1s, you get a level 3, and then the level 3 gets a rider that is the level, like a level 1 spell at level 1, right? Like, you don't like. So I'm thinking like Fear. Fear is Fear or Commander, like level 1 spells that I am familiar with, because they are decent spells even in higher levels in the level 1 slot. And it's like, oh, a Fireball with a Fear rider, right? Like, and the the one target gets affected by the level 1 version of Fear, which is like, they roll a save and they might be scared, right? spooky fireball, right? Like, I think that's mostly fine. But you have to, if you make them do it or if you make, the choice at the beginning of the day, then they have to choose what the spells, and I think that's mostly, I think that's mostly fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I also like the idea that like it is something that you can we didn't really talk about this with the knapsack, but it's also true for the knapsack. Like part of how I design the artifacts is you should be able to upgrade them over time. And this
Right.
is the kind of thing that's very scalable, right? Where at the end of the campaign and you upgrade one of your artifacts from uncommon to rare, and this is the one that you choose, and now all of a sudden you get a new ability to do it even better or something like that. Like that makes perfect sense to me, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Right, like you could upgrade this into like a live blend, right? Like you
Yeah.
in the moment can blend two spells together, and then you have to use your rider spell has to be one of the ones that you're giving up in the moment. Now
there is another version of this that I was thinking about that I just want to pitch as an alternate to see what you think. There is spell substitution. Are you familiar with this? I think it might be a feat or a class feature.
Spell substitution is another arcane thesis, right?
Okay. So this is the one that allows you to choose two spells inside of the same slot, and then you cast either or. This was also what I was thinking about from a spell blending. What if you chose two level 1 spells, but you could cast both of them out of that same sort of slot at the same time? And so you would be casting Fear and magic missile or something like that, right? Like those sorts of things.
Okay.
My instinct is that is a little bit lamer, and that having the different ranks and baking it into spell blending is cooler. But I did want to mention it just for the, I don't know, for the contrast maybe.
Do you know what the name of that, because spell substitution is a different arcane thesis, and that says you can spend 10 minutes and swap out your prepared spells.
Yeah, then I guess I am thinking of a different thing. I can't remember what it was called.
Let me see if I can think of this.
It was called something. Split slot is what it is called. You can prepare two spells in one slot, giving you the freedom to choose the spell when you cast it, which is just a wizard feat.
Oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
My feeling is that this is not it's the same effect but a little bit lamer, and that the cooler version of it is cooler. So do the cooler version of it.
So this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to say that like if Rachel takes split slot, the upgrade to your spell, your spell blending artifact is you can also use this effect with split slot, right? Like,
oh, that's actually a great answer. Yeah. Okay. All right. I love this idea. This is pretty perfect. We have one last artifact to go for, and this is the one that I have the least amount of kind of understanding of, which is Sarian, who's playing an alchemist with the Kyurgin, I guess.
Is that how you pronounce that? Because I don't. I realize I've never heard.
I have no idea how to. Can I get Google to tell me how to pronounce it, or Wiktionary? Come on, Wiktionary, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Kyurgin is what it is.
We are looking at how to pronounce this word, as well as how to say more interesting but often confusing.
Apparently.
Okay, hold on. I am trying to find a YouTube video that I can play in the background of this.
Kyurgin.
So YouTube says Kyurgin, but I don't know if that's right or not.
Kyurgin.
Yeah, Kyurgin is what Merriam-Webster says. So surgeon with a Kyur on the front.
Yeah. So Sarian is playing an alchemist and a Kyurgin. And I guess I am now looking at it that the formulas are two common first level elixirs with the healing trait. You can use your proficiency in crafting for anything that requires a proficiency in medicine. which certainly makes sense to me. My versatile vials can be used to heal. So basically, instead of having bombs, I guess you kind of have these, these like field potions that you're kind of crafting, which sort of makes sense. And he did describe himself as like a healer, like the party healer. When
I think he still gets bombs, and you have cut out.
when we talk to alchemists or chirurgeons in particular.
Sorry, say that one more time. You cut out for a second there. I still think he has access to bombs.
Yeah, I was interested if you've ever interacted with alchemists or the chirurgeon, I guess, field of study, research field. Is that what this is?
Yeah, research
field.
Yes,
it is a research field. Okay.
So I have at some level. Okay, yeah. So I haven't interacted with chirurgeons, but the quick alchemy is this way that this kind of feels. So basically, your research field, I believe, dictates what your quick alchemy looks like. I think the bombers specialize in bombs, but I think everybody gets them, or at least gets some access to them. Like mutagenists get like buffs, and then like chirurgeon obviously gets healing items. So the idea is like, there's a bunch of alchemical items in the game that you could just buy, right? Like I could get a lesser healing potion, but the idea for the alchemists is that they can assemble these like in the moment and hand them off, and they get like it's like almost like a sorcerer, right? Like you get like 5 of these a day, and you can't sell it, right? They're made from like fleeting ingredients, and they dissipate after like half a minute or whatever, and like stuff like that. So it's kind of like imagine you had access to like Tanglefoot bag type stuff, but on the fly as opposed to I think on the fly as opposed to what's it called, having to buy them ahead of time. I think they might be prepared in the morning. It's been a while since I looked over this. Called Quick Alchemy. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a part of me that is thinking that, maybe touching that stuff isn't really worth it. Part of it is that, Silas van Polk has this kind of combat medic. He's part of the 4th Legion. The 4th Legion are a legion that fight orcs, that fight greenskins down in kind of the southern sort of empire. And I was thinking maybe I could pull something kind of orcish to sort of satisfy some of this, like orc tech of like weird contraptions. It also sort of like feels in line with what kind of alchemist and chirurgeon is kind of going for. And then the other thought I had is that this is like a very Civil War sort of character. One of the things we were talking about is when he was writing his letters to Takasia, I shared
Takasia.
Yeah, I shared with him. He was like, I've been listening to this old-timey music this whole time, and I just posted the opening to I guess this is the
Ken Burns
Ashokan Farewell. Yeah, exactly. So I Ken Burns' Civil War has such a specific sort of sound, and everybody has heard this because like for those of us have like watched Community or something, right? In the episode they do that is parodying Ken Burns, they're using all of those like that soundtrack or whatever, and it was just so perfect for this. So then I had this thought of like maybe what I want to do is give him like a melee weapon that's a bone saw, because like of the horrendous sort of field conditions for Civil War sort of like field hospitals and cutting people's legs off and stuff like that. Anyway, those are some of my assorted ideas. What do you think?
So off the top, Sarian's in the chat, so we can talk to him.
Welcome to the chat, buddy.
I believe his archetype is gunslinger, and if that's the case, the easy obvious thing is like shove a healing potion in the gun and shoot your ally, right? Like
oh yeah, that is very cool. Very Anna from like Overwatch, right? You shoot
or
a
like
syringe into,
or medic from from TF2, right?
TF2,
like So that was the thing that's been bobbling around, especially since you like guns in are like magic powered. They're not like gunpowder.
Yeah,
guns.
there's no gunpowder in Saran. It is all powered by like, power crystals itself. Fun note, Silas's melee weapon is shears because I like that there was an entry for it and it's like heavy duty metal shears. Yeah, listen, I'm telling you, the bone saw. Okay, I didn't even know what the bone saw would do. And I also think it would be bad to get into melee. Like, I don't want to encourage this character to get into melee, but I just love the idea that, it's about that's how you deal with combat is you get into melee and you start cutting people's limbs off.
So fun fact about those, I'm pretty sure those shears are like a very bespoke weapon for like a character, and they're like giant shears. I think they're like supposed to be like
like hedge clipper shears.
No, like I'm pretty sure it's legacy content. Oh, hold on. It's from Monster Core 2. Here, you Vampel, I go look up where this is coming from in my actual books. Because I'm pretty sure
I'm vamping a little bit. Sari, because you're in the chat and we're talking about your whole thing, it's a D4 damage with a D6 deadly on crit. Okay, that makes sense to me. Are there other pieces of your kit that you have built like in terms of feats, or like the gunslinger stuff with like the archetype, that you are interested in expanding like the mechanical sort of like role for? So for instance, for Rachel's artifact, Spellblend was just like I guess it was the arcane thesis, right? Just like this class feature that wizards have access to. Obviously I understand that being a chirurgeon is about is being a healing focused alchemist, but clearly there are going to be class feats and stuff like that or like I guess discoveries is the version of this for alchemists, right? Like they get discoveries at certain levels. Are there discoveries that you find yourself particularly drawn to? While I asked that question, I am now going and looking through. Okay, so discoveries. Yeah, so I've got most of my feats and archetype picks made, and he's definitely like 70-30 leaning towards healer, but has like quick alchemy, quick draw, very fast hands kind of stuff. Okay, that's very cool. Yeah, so, a field discovery. Interesting.
So the thing that I found is so the shears are from, the reason they don't have anything with them is they are from a monster manual entry where it's imagine like brownies or like shoe cobbler elves, but like I guess tailors, and so they've just got like scissors that they run around and cut people with. So perfectly fine. It works. Just it's different than what I thought. So war razors are what I'm thinking of, and that's literally like a giant folding razor, which is like the signature weapon of like a rune lord. But it's just like literally like imagine a straight razor, but like human sized that you cut people with.
The rune lords use war razors, man. Where can I see?
One of them does.
Oh, I see. So where can I see these field discoveries? It says you learn a discovery listed in your research field. I wanna see where
that would be is. Under the what's it called? Under the chirurgeon.
Oh, I see. Okay, so field discovery. Your medicinal elixirs are quite fortifying. When a creature drinks an infused elixir with the healing trait that you've created, that creature gains a number of temp hit points equal to your intelligence modifier. That's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, because like I could definitely see something like keying plus int to healing on my potions. I could definitely see something keying off of like that as a as like a piece, right? Like you could imagine do alchemists still get spell lists? Hold on.
So their spell list is their formula list, which is like the list of things that they can create on the fly with quick alchemy.
Okay.
Infused is the trait that makes them all like,
go on. The alchemical items, right?
Yeah. Like theoretically, Silas can get any number of formulas that even outside of his field, it's just the ones that he gets like off the bat are the ones that are the healy ones because they're like inside of his field.
Okay.
And he gets bonuses to using healing stuff.
Yeah, I also did a whole thing. I had this with Rusty for Rusty's crafting, right? Rusty has the fires of invention or whatever. which basically just kind of allows Rusty to like populate scrap that can be turned into little knickknacks off of the tinkerer list, like the inventor, inventions list. So a pretty easy artifact to put together would be something that's pretty similar for alchemical items, but I actually kind of don't like that as an idea. I think my favorite idea, honestly, is just the gun that shoots syringes. I think is probably the best, that we've chatted about so far.
Yeah, it does feel very on the nose though, but
yeah. I also like. I wonder if
because part of the benefit of being able to shoot someone with the elixir is that they don't have to spend the action to drink it, right? Like that is actually like a real material action economy benefit, right? Like normally you have to like hand it to the person, they have to spend an action on their turn chugging it.
Yeah, and you would have a hit. You would have to make a hit roll.
He says he has splash healing. Interesting.
Oh, interesting. What is splash healing? Like you just throw it on somebody and it breaks and they. So I can throw and hit allies with potions and they get the healing without taking action themselves. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So then this gun isn't doing a lot except for maybe extending the range. So you'd have to give him like something on top of it, right? Like.
Yeah. And then, but it's got to be in numbers of day per thing, right? There's a whole other part of me that makes me think that like really maybe the gun can be offensive, and it can be like offensive in the sense that you're trying to use it to generate, you can imagine you have a gun and critical hits with the gun replenish one of your alchemical vials for the day or something, like something kind of along those sorts of lines that grant you more sort of access.
I don't think he's going to crit very much with the gun, just because it's not like since this is his archetype, it's not going to scale as well.
Yeah,
and so like he'll probably hit with it, but he won't crit with it super often.
Yeah, but maybe shooting and reloading the gun is enough of an act just in terms of action economy, right? Like think about it. Okay, so how many because you've got to have a number of times per day. Where's that defined in here? That you can use your vials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So the I think as an archetype he doesn't get access to this, but the core kind of gunslinger mechanic is like, each path of the gunslinger gets a like, you don't get like a fast reload, but you get like a 2-action, you don't get a free reload, but you get like a reload that is combined with another action. So you don't.
Yeah, I remember in the chat, mentioning Merle had the shoot plus reload plus kick.
Yeah,
was definitely made sense to me. So he will get one of those, even though it's just an archetype.
I don't think he will, but like that. But that would be a thing to maybe give him. Like I don't know if he gets. Let me check. I don't think he gets. He gets it at level.
Get
10.
One of those at level 10. Okay.
But you could like give him a version that's like useful for his chirurgeon things, right? Like, because those are all like hide or like move and reload, right? And so you can give him something that's useful for the healing aspect, so that when he gets it at, eventually he gets the reload at level 10, it's a choice that's a meaningful choice, right? Like, maybe he wants to move and reload, maybe he wants to like, reload and maybe that's it, maybe just reload and prep a vial, right? Like in the same action.
Yeah, that's not terrible. That's a pretty good one. For the sake of I think timing, this makes the most sense to me. I think I still like the idea, especially the I can already prep and use a vial in the same action. What does that mean?
That means that like he can prep and throw, I think, or prep and like use the vial. He doesn't have to spend he doesn't have to spend separate actions to prep and to use the vial. So it'd have to be a thing to like The problem is there's not enough peripheral benefit of shooting the vial, right? Like, because he's got the splash ability.
Maybe there's something to like using the gun. Thinking about like a revolver, right? Like a like an officer or something would maybe have. Maybe there's something to like using the gun to, I don't know, create a distraction or something is kind of what I'm thinking about, like in melee. I don't know. This is not really getting me anywhere.
I was thinking about your random idea, and you call it Russian roulette. You have like 3 healing vials and 3 bullets, and you just roll the dice, spin them. Oh, you know what?
That's awesome, actually.
But you could do something like, it's a revolver, and they alternate, and maybe that's like, maybe you get like, you get some sort of benefit there, right? Like, I would have to think about this, because like six shots without reloading is a lot, right? But like, you could do something like, you incentivize alternating between offense and defense, right? Because you shoot the enemy, and then you have a healing one, and then you can, I don't know, the way the magic works, you can spin the chamber and like risk it if you really need to do 2 shots or 2 heals in a row, right? But I also, that feels like the trade-off's never going to be worth it, especially because he probably has access to his other stuff outside of it.
Yeah, there's a part of me that's thinking that actually what would be cool is like using it to like the gun is actually kind of unrelated to some of this stuff. It's if you hit it, your target loses their reaction or something. And so what you do is you shoot somebody that's in melee with your guy, and then you walk up and you hand them a potion or use the potion on them or something like that, and you can kind of heal without getting AOO. That. But even then, like AOs are so rare that like it doesn't even matter, or
Yeah.
What did I had, oh, hold on, let me check Merle. I had one for Merle in Heretic Heroes. Like I had a gun for Merle that like keyed into a bunch of cool gunslinger shit. Oh right, that was the gun axe, right? And Merle could do the thing to swap between melee and ranged with the stealthy gun axe. Yeah, and then I included a couple of these other
Okay. So the tossed vials have the coagulant trait, which says that they can't be affected by another coagulant item in the next 10 minutes. So I think the thing here is you get around that coagulant, like you take it. The artifact lets you get around the coagulant trait.
Oh, so this means that you would be able to shoot somebody twice with your syringe gun. And you could heal them twice in a row, right?
Yeah. I wonder.
I actually like that a lot, to be honest with you. I think that's pretty sweet. Especially because the 3-round, I'm sorry, wait, reloading is 2 actions, right?
I think it depends on the gun.
My small heals files are more forgiving, but also less healing. Your versatile vials can be used to heal. A creature can drink the vial for the benefit, or throw the vial at a willing creature as an interact action to heal the creature. In either case, loses acid. Oh, yeah. So this is actually what, yeah, I see what you're saying. So in either case, a vial used this way loses the acid and splash traits and gains the coagulant and healing traits plus the elixir trait if a creature drinks it. So you would not be able to use the field vials twice in a row on the same target.
Yeah. This vials healing, converted bomb damage, and then healing potion healing, which is bigger.
Right.
So the bombs healing, I think, is the one that gets this coagulant thing, but that's
Yeah.
I think maybe the answer is instead of the coagulant thing, it's the gun lets you load a healing potion heal into the gun for a bigger heal, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to actually, I think the right way to do this is loading it into the gun gives it the coagulant trait so that you can spray multiple of your friends, but you can't do bomb heals on the same person. Correct me if the chat or if I'm wrong about this, Ryan, but it sounds like the small heals have the coagulant but are ranged, and the big heals don't have coagulant but are handed off. Is that correct?
The big heals is the part that I don't actually see.
So alchemists can make a normal healing potion X number of times per day. You can normally not throw these at people, right? Like you have to hand them to them and they have to drink them. Oh, he has healing bomb. Damn it!
You've really optimized the shit out of this. Zarian came in so much harder on round 2. Yes, I suppose that's true. I definitely like the idea of using a gun, and I definitely think that it's the kind of thing that using it in a supportive way makes sense. But I think maybe not touching the healing is the answer. And like maybe making a gun that's like built more towards trick shots. So for instance, because Silas has taken the Hippocratic Oath, Silas is not going to the gun is not as effective at shooting somebody in the head for damage, right? But it is effective at shooting the knife out of an
You froze again, but
interloper's hand or something like that. You maybe something kind of along those lines. Is it like, does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? Or did I cut out? It sounds like
you cut out for a second, but I get what you're saying. That like because the Hippocratic Oath thing, it's less direct damage and more kind of tricks.
Yeah,
that could work. Yeah.
Because I think if somebody's building up a healer, they don't want to be trying to do damage, right? Like I don't think anybody loves the idea of being a healer that does damage, but having a proactive thing that you can do that sort of debuffs the enemy that feels like supporty in the way that like healers want to be supporty. Could there be like a healer sharpshooter where he shoots so good he heals better? Yeah, maybe. I do also, the stun tranquilizer thing is interesting, and I think that's also like a good flavor for it. Having the ability to load up like something that forces saves against, it's not a bullet that's going to deal a ton of damage, but it's something that could force a save against low level kind of conditions. The ones that I want to use here are like sickened, but that's actually too powerful for kind of what I'm describing. Like if you had a gun that shoots sickened at people, that would be pretty good, I think. But
we go back to the Russian roulette idea. He's got 6 chambers. They've got random effects, one of which can be sickened because it won't come up all the time. One of which is like disable reactions. But like the way the magic in the artifact works is like it's not sequential. Like it effectively spins the chamber every time, right?
And then it's a D6, and the D6 has kind of crits and misses, right? Like maybe it's a minor effect. I love a randomized effect table. Great. Okay, I love this idea too. Let's ship it. Call it good.
Yeah, because you could do like sickened. You could do like you said, you could do disable reactions. You could do what else?
The hypertension pool. I also love it because like part of it that I think is cool is because Silas has been, part of a legion that's fighting against orcs. You could very clearly flavor this as orc technology, right? Where it is like like an orcish, I don't know, like an orcish revolver, and Silas doesn't quite understand how the mechanics of it work, but just you fire it and it does the thing, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. That's like very orc technology and fits in with everything else. I think this is a solid.
Yeah, like if Silas can figure out how to use it right, he could do it for a bunch of cool stuff, but
But for now, it is entirely random. Roll a d6. Hope that it is a cool, useful effect.
Yeah, and then upgrades are like a roll 2d6, pick your favorite, right? Like type of deal.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Okay, excellent. Well, we have scoped out all three of our cool sort of artifacts. So for Harvey, we have the sort of the somewhat alive knapsack that is feeding you interesting weapons. For Eka, we have the spell blender, that lets you sort of latch on level 1 spells onto the level 3 spells you make out of spell blending. And for our good friend Silas, we have the orc pistol, whatever it's called. In the Second War for Armageddon, Commissar Sebastian Yarrick famously defeated an orc warlord and claimed his iron claw for his own severed arm type shit. Yeah, I guess it is that type shit, huh?
It's the orc pepper box, and it's like pronounced. It's PEP.
Oh my god, hold on, I'm gonna write that down. That's so good. The orc pepper box is so fucking awesome. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the main topic. So yeah, I don't know, buddy, how was your week?
It's been good. I've been playing a bunch of Marathon. I got to play some with a friend of the cast, Sarian, which is their first time doing trios, and it was great. We lost a couple, we won a couple, but that's the way it goes. I had a great
Very
time.
Cool.
I know that Sarian is not as big a fan of the game as I am, but it's good to have trios. It's good to get in there. I think a big weakness of the game is that it really isn't designed for solos, and it just kind of, like, you die, like the UESC bots are just a little too overtuned for soloing, especially when you're low level like Sarian is right now. Put me on the mic to bitch about this game sometime. Swear to God. We will at some point we will do a cast about this. Once Buddy's got the game now too, so at some point we'll do.
I need to actually sit down and play.
I've also been playing a bunch of the new Diablo expansion. I played basically I wanted, because we are towards I don't know. I'm not particularly interested in these incursion things in that WoW half patch, and so I'm kind of on my WoW chores are a couple of hours, on patch day or the day after, right? And so I want Diablo to be my kind of mindless listen to podcast game. But before I can put it on mindless mode, I have to play the story and absorb that with that.
Did you play the previous expansion?
I played I played some of it because I definitely did some of it, but I also don't remember the end of it, which is Akarat becoming spoilers for the last expansion. Mephisto takes over the body of the prophet Akarat and does a whole false prophet thing. That's this cool. Entire expansion is following him being a false prophet and deluding people and dealing with that.
I like Diablo. I have a lot of love for Diablo lore. I really liked Diablo 4, and I especially liked where it kind of ended. I actually love Diablo 4, thinking about it, just on a raw story level. Diablo 4 is pretty fucking awesome. And I have long thought to myself that, I should go back and play the whole game. I don't even think I would do this in a seasonal character. I think I would probably do this on an evergreen character, just to go run through the story from the beginning all the way through the stuff with Lilith, towards because at the end of Diablo 4 you leave off, cut her hand off, and she has the little Mephisto bauble with her, whatever, and she sort of ran away from Lorath and stuff like that, and it's just oh god, it's so good. And the Mephisto bauble is the dead wolf, or the Mephisto is the dead wolf in her mind and stuff like that. It's just it's so deep. I love it, and I've been thinking quite a lot about actually sitting down and playing some Diablo 4. But I instead decided to spend time in another dungeon crawler, Vampire Survivors one, Vampire Crawlers. Now I saw you played a little bit of this, is that right?
I played one run of it. and decided that I didn't really like it that much.
Oh, okay. I've played, God, in just the last day, because I downloaded it yesterday. I played 6 hours.
Oof.
So, you know, we're getting pretty deep into it. Frankly, I don't think it's very good. I just think that it's deep, and
Is it
that's
even
kind
that
of
deep
nice.
though? Like, I don't know. I've played like Legend of Grimrock. I've played some other dungeon crawlers, right? And I don't know. It doesn't feel like super deep to me either. It just feels kind of like it feels very, Vampire Survivors to me, right? Which is like, you get powers, then you run your face into things until you die, right? And you just, try.
So the depth has come out definitely over additional sort of
Okay.
play sessions. And this is in a couple of places. So number one, you pick up crawlers, which is sort of your character classes, but like you have to activate them by using a card. I don't know if you saw that. Because I also was not immediately gripped by this, for the record. It took me 2 or 3 runs, or maybe 4 or 5 runs even, to get deep enough in that I was like, oh, this is interesting. But one of the things that's neat is basically every level there are new game modes and new things that you can activate in order to in order to kind of progress sort of further. And it's funny because, like I liked Vampire Survivors. I played a lot of it, but not a ton of it. Like I didn't 100% the game like a lot of people or anything like that. But I have hold on. I'm sure we can find it. I have a respectable number of hours in Vampire Survivors, I'm sure.
While you're doing that, I'm going to answer Rachel's question in the chat. Are unupgraded familiars in Pathfinder just bad? Familiars are not really combat creatures, especially except for like witches get good stuff with familiars, but most familiars, if you're not focusing on familiars, just kind of like flavor, and they're occasionally useful, but you're not really actively using them in combat. Pets, like familiars are not combat pets. Is the lesson there? Like occasionally use them to deliver a touch spell, but like that's basically it.
So I have 40 hours in Vampire Survivors, which I would say is like pretty good. And so as I was playing Vampire Crawlers, I was definitely sort of, they just keep adding new systems, and they just keep adding new way for you to sort of like customize stuff. And now I can have 2 classes and bring 2 crawlers on my journey. And there's a bunch of upgrades in the tavern for me to buy and stuff like this. So, like I said, I don't think it's good. It is not hitting me in the place that Estrella hits me or Montabi hits me, which are obviously games that I publish. So, whatever, different sort of stuff. But it is hitting me it's a big, fun, deep experience where I am every 2 or 3 runs, you get hit with a new subsystem that like changes your meta. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is part of what keeps it from not being stale. And to be fair, I have only done 6 hours of this, so I'm sure eventually I will fucking run out of these subsystems, right? But for right now, I have done X number of runs, and I have yet to kind of like reach the bottom of this this sort of well here.
Diablo is like that for me at this point, right? Because like as you gain levels, you get like, oh, I can start like they've got like 72 systems that they've layered on by this point, and so it's like, oh, I can masterwork, I can temper, I can re-roll, right? Like I think Path of Exile and Diablo 4 are eventually just going to converge into the same game.
I've heard that Diablo 4 is, to use the parlance of the children, mogging PoE 2. The stuff that I have been seeing online, just because I spent a little bit of time looking to see like what people thought of the new Diablo expansion. Like, is it good? Is it bad? I haven't touched it since launch, kind of. And the reviews are quite good. People seem to really like it. And also there's just a lot of shade towards Path of Exile, which is kind of wild to me. Where people are sort of saying that like, I never thought Diablo always looked like it was going to be in PoE's shadow. It was going to be a better, like more polished AAA PoE kind of light, but it wasn't going to get as deep or as interesting or whatever. And now it's surpassed Path of Exile or whatever, which I thought was really interesting. I never would have expected. I always kind of expect these like indie darling, like giga complication factories to be just like unassailable in their, I don't know, man.
I think that Path of Exile is still more complicated than.
Yeah.
I think Diablo 4 has hit this spot, like, not to bring the game that the other game up again, but it's like kind of like Marathon in that like it is not so casual as as Dad Raiders, but it is also not as hardcore as Tarkov. And so I think it's like it's giving you enough build pieces that you can go really deep on it. But it's not as insane as like, you've seen the Path of Exile passive tree, which is like, yay big, and then like all the skills are on gems and all that stuff, right? Like, Diablo 4 is definitely a more guided experience than that, but it still gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of cool things to do. My experience with Diablo is typically basically, kind of like with a lot of these games is like your kind of power curve is logarithmic, right? Like, as the more you play, the less powerful you get per hour invested. And so I usually play to like the 85% of the curve before I get bored trying to iterate. And I think if you add more systems, you add more ways to kind of like stretch out that curve such that, instead of taking me like, 5 hours hit that 85% mark, it's going to take me like 10 hours. Right. And so I'll be engaged with the game for more, because that is usually what happens to me. It's like I will hit like midway through the season or whatever, and I'll be like, I have to run like 72 more of these to like have a chance of getting a meaningful piece of gear, and I'm not having fun anymore, and so I'm going to stop playing this. But when you have more options for like there's Paragon levels, there's like I said, all of these systems are on tempering. There's like a Herodric cube now, which lets you like recombine things, re-roll things. There's a charm that like lets you slot in seals and stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Oh my god, that bean did Collins pop on camera? Is that what we're talking about?
Collins has been popping on your mic, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's being a boy. Like, Dad, why aren't you paying attention to me? That has the podcast, Mr. Collins.
Yeah, I definitely get that about Diablo. I feel like it'll be a pretty similar experience. I did this with Loop Hero recently. Just like every couple of months, I just like find one of these fucking roguelikes to crush and just play into the ground. Loop Hero I put 52 hours into, and I liked Loop Hero. I thought Loop Hero was a lot of fun. It scratched the itch, kind of all of the rest of it. But I wouldn't consider it my, it's just not a game. Empire Crawlers will probably end up in that same spot. Right now, I am just kind of looking for something interesting to do on one screen while I watch The Boys on the other screen, because I guess we're watching The Boys again. That's the new, it's in its final season. I have always thought that it was bad. It seems as though pop culture has finally come around. I don't think the show's bad. I think the show's dumb, to be clear. Is The Boys the new meta? Yeah, it's just that I don't know. I have always thought that this show is dumb and kind of vapid and stupid if you ever think about it for like 10 seconds. And it seems as though the pop culture has come around to my position on that, but in a more pejorative way. I kind of like it, even though it's stupid. Like I sort of think it's good, even though it's stupid. And there are a lot of people who I think thought that it was really profound and are now realizing that it was actually fucking stupid the whole time and kind of feel like idiots, and they're very mad about it. So I don't know. That's where we're at, I guess.
Hey, he's trying to bite me. It's it's funny because I've also seen Invincible. Like, I don't know if there's a new season because like they're
Oh,
like
yeah.
the yin and the yang of like with actually superheroes type of shows.
Yeah, both Invincible. We obviously had our whole episode on Invincible, but just to remind everybody about my very nuanced and complex opinion. Okay, Invincible the comic works because of the way comics work. Invincible the comics, you would go 30 issues, okay, of teenage superhero antics. Who am I dating? Oh my god, am I gonna get with Eve, or am I gonna get with whatever, like that kind of thing, okay? And then you would have a 6-issue arc that is the most brutal bloodbath that has ever been put to the book, okay? That
Buddy.
plays out. I'm sorry. Do you want to? You're gearing up for something. Okay?
Buddy, I have a show for you. It's called
what's the
Jujutsu Kaisen. The first
fuck my
season,
life.
the first season is all kind of like slice of life, and then the Shibuya accident happens. The Shibuya incident happens, and that's just all kind of like oh, shit got real. And then this third season was like crazy off the charts a couple moments. So we should.
Yeah,
do
the reason that works so well for the Invisible comics is because this takes place over a really long period of time.
Sure.
24 issues is 2.5 years. Do you know what I mean? Or 2 years or whatever, right? And then you have a 6-issue run. So every 2.5 years, you have this like huge kind of brutal bloodbath. But Invincible, it all happens inside of the exact same season. So it's like, I don't know. I really hit that show kind of wrong. I kind of feel like if I go back to it, I might like it more. I do like Invincible the Universe. I like Kirkman kind of in general, right? Like I'm give it a thing. Yeah, who should I date? Where should I eat dinner? How do I reconcile the blood on these hands? That is exactly what Invincible is like as well. So I definitely understand the Jujutsu Kaisen comparison there.
And it works.
I don't know. Maybe
like,
I'll do Invincible after this.
It works with JJK because like it's like the first season into the second season into the third season, because the second season is split into like a backstory arc and like the Shibuya incident arc, which is like the big real stuff, and then it's pretty nuts. I would actually rewatch it to do an episode. I think that'd be a good episode for the future.
You know what else I rewatched? I actually just finished this. This was kind of my like WoW when I was like mining in WoW show for the past couple of weeks, and I just don't think we've talked about it. It was 30 Rock, the Tina Fey show. I haven't watched it not since it came out. I guess since it ended is really when because I remember watching it concurrently as it was coming out. It was kind of in this golden age of NBC. It was that Community, The Office, Parks and Rec, just all on top of each other. Is 30 Rock getting better? Yeah. But 30 Rock is wild because it's 15 years old at this point, and it's like watching Cheers or something. Like it is just like a true time portal, but it's just weird that the time portal is like Obama. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like George W. Bush and Obama. Just it's strange, but it's very funny. There's a lot of good bits. There's a lot of bits that don't hold up as well as I remember them, to be honest.
Friend of the cat, one of the friends of the cat, one of the Alexes posted in a chat today that was something like, like, where do you have your money invested, Liz? He's like, I got $12K in a checking account. And Alec Ball, and Jack Downey says, what are you, an immigrant? He's like,
there's so much political stuff in that show because Alec Baldwin, Jack Donaghy is, fiercely conservative, and obviously Liv Levin is sort of fiercely kind of like liberal. And one of the things that extremely dates the show is how completely different and wild their politics are to like the modern, like they just don't map to a modern sort of like conservative liberal. Do you know what I mean? They're just completely different worlds. Jack Donaghy is this like Mitt Romney, pro-business, like job creator sort of neocon kind of thing.
He's a fusionist Republican, right? Like he's like, like the three-legged stool of like, it's like, it's like the libertarian neocon fund, Christian three-legged stool kind of thing. and he's not really the Christian side of it, but like, that's like, that's what Mitt Romney kind of was, right?
Yeah, and there's just like no room for like the show just doesn't even conceive of like MAGA or any of this kind of
it
like
does
stuff, right?
That character is there. He's Liz Lemon's douchebag boyfriend.
Oh my god, holy fuck. Okay, you're so right. Actually, fucking Christ. Oh, his name is Dennis Duffy. Oh
yeah,
my
Dennis
god,
Duffy, that's right.
What's the funny part about Dennis is like 30 Rock is the new meta, okay? Like, Dennis is such a fucking moron and is also like one of the best acted characters on television. And I think that guy understands it because all he ended up doing is going and doing a million commercials for like State Farm or something where he just plays Dennis Duffy essentially. But just like, God, what a fucking character. Yeah. And then Liz is obviously kind of like, completely dead in the water, Hillary Clinton sort of, feminist liberal thing that's just like a dinosaur in today's, day and age. It just doesn't make any sort of sense in our kind of modern politics, which I find hilarious and interesting and funny.
There's a whole thing about like as parallel tracks, right? Like Parks and Rec and 30 Rock, where like where essentially Jack Donaghy and Ron Swanson are like written to be kind of like counterparts, but they end up being like super well loved because like like there's a thing here about how like the main characters like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's characters, right? Like because they are the characters that are going through a lot of growth, they end up as messes, right? And so it ends up kind of like silently affirming kind of like Jack Donaghy and Ron Swanson as people who have their shit together, right? Like, and who are like, solid, decent people, even though that kind of like goes against the implicit politics of what you would have expected from like a writer's room of that era, right? Like that, they're like, actually these guys are wrong and bad, but like they've got their shit together, right? Like, it's an interesting way that is played out, or that played out across those two series. Yeah. And they you can see the writing end up like giving Ron Swanson, Jack Donaghy more flaws, I think, to kind of like get away from some of that type of deal, right? This goes all the way back to kind of like I think like what is it like Archie Bunker and them, right? Like the like loving like the kind of like loudish regressive characters, even though they're not supposed to be the well liked characters. Oh, so Rachel in the chat asked about re-explaining how free archetypes work in PF2E for the 8th time. So for Rachel and for all the folks at home, the way free archetype works is that at second and every even level, you get a slot for that must be filled with an archetype feat. At level 2, that's obviously going to be a dedication feat in all likelihood. And then at 4th and 6th and 8th, you get to fill them with archetype only feats. All the other rules for the archetypes apply. The only other thing to mention is in your normal class feat slot, you are, by the rules, allowed to use an archetype feat if you would like. Usually this isn't relevant. Like I think if you end up going with archaeologist, there might not even be enough feats to fill out like a normal free archetype slot. So we might have to get creative with some stuff, but like for like wrestler, which is when I have in a different game, you can take like at level 4 there's like a slot, there's 2 different feats, and you could theoretically take 1 feat in the free archetype slot and 1 feat in the class slot, but essentially you get free extra feats for your free archetype, which is supposed to be option expanding or flavor expanding. It's like theoretically for this campaign, if Buddy wanted to, he could be like, you all get free archetype, but it's only for archaeologist, and you all have to take archaeologist, and that would make some sort of sense, right? So, but that is how that works. No worries.
Okay. Well, I don't want to necessarily cut it there, but I think I have exhausted the amount of stuff that I'm interested in. I don't know. You want to talk about Magic? We played Magic. We did pre-con stuff. I don't know. It was fun. I won both games, and I'm very proud of it. Okay.
Yeah. That fucking
that
currency converter.
that lore hold deck is the most me coded deck of just all time. I was sitting there in the second game, especially because I thought I was going to get completely fucking owned. I was sitting there and I was just like, boy, I got off to a much worse start than I did the previous game. But I think I can claw it back if the only thing I focus on is building a mana advantage on everybody else and just kind of hoping that nobody notices that I'm like actually 4 or 5 lands ahead of the whole table. And that is kind of exactly what happened. Eventually I got to this sort of critical mass of just like on my turn I had access to like 18 or 19 mana and everybody else was on like 7 or 8. And I was just like, yes, okay, this is it. This is the win. Currency converter, definitely a very good card. I also think tucking Quint both times. Those were I often try and think about these when we come out of a game. I think, what were the game-winning plays? And for me, the 2 game-winning plays in that game was tucking Quint both times because it let me play Quint for free, essentially, by playing removal, which, you know, is an orthogonal choice and a tough choice to make when you don't have the removal in your hand to break the thing, but just kind of knowing that like we're probably going to hit a board wipe situation soon, and like I could tuck Quint back into the command zone, replay him next turn for 6 mana, try and build the engine again, but just like the tempo wouldn't be there, stuff like that. It's just like that stuff. Very, very fun. Very, very good games of Commander, I guess.
Yeah. I think you also lucked into like having a wide board with a lot of like, you know, sacrifice 1 creature effects.
Oh yeah, the end game there, that was incredible for me.
Yeah. But yeah. Do I have any other Magic stuff? No, I think I'm good too. Do I have anything else I want to mention? I don't have anything off the top of my head. It's been a good podcast. We designed 3 artifacts and we
designed 3 sweet artifacts. I'm very excited to write these up and hand them out to everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to say, if you'd like to email us about anything we talked about on this podcast, you can email us at derpsplaygames@gmail.com or podcast@derpsplaygames.com. You can follow us at twitch.tv/derpsplaygames or youtube.com/derpsplaygames. You can rate and review us wherever you can find podcasts. All the links will be down in the description. Buddy, you have anything else you're looking to promote?
You know, I guess I don't have anything I'm looking to promote.
Didn't you have a game that just came out?
Oh yeah, Kumitante just came out. Kumitante came out 2 weeks ago. So play Kumitante, Danganronpa-like. I don't know, it's cool. People love it. You know, it's been awesome and successful for us so far, so I'm happy about that.
Does Mantabi have a release date yet?
Not yet, though I do know what it is. We decided it this week, okay? It's in the brain, okay? But you'll have to wait to SGF because that's when we're announcing, okay?
SGF?
Summer Games Fest.
Okay.
That first weekend, you know, in June.
All right, well, look forward to that. With that, I'm going to say until next time, dear listeners.
Until next time, loyal listeners.